Wait, they were like, what?
And I was like, boss, please.
Hey bosses, welcome to another episode of Boss Please. I'm Megan. I'm here with Jillian. Hey,
Hello.
Joe.
How are ya?
I'm good. I kind of have to pee. I should have peed before we started this, but that's okay.
No.
I'll hold it. It's fine. I'm determined to hold it. I need to build a stronger bladder. I pee way too much
She's in trouble.
to the point where it's like a problem.
Oh, no.
How were you boss this week?
So I am the boss at work, and I think this has probably been my boss moment before, I suppose, but our weekend guy, he is having to take a massive amount of time off. He covers baseball games, so his Saturdays are kind of booked, so we're having to shift his schedule, and I volunteered to cover some of the weekends, even though I do work really hard, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be crazy. But the good news is I'm getting it done right in February, so it'll all work out. But yeah, just like stepping up and making things a little bit easier for your boss and for your coworkers.
Yes.
That's pretty boss, I think.
That's so boss.
Because we need to share responsibility.
I wouldn't do that. No, I would, maybe.
Well, I'm
know.
getting paid overtime, let's be real.
There you go.
Okay? Like, not just doing it for nothing, all right?
For me, I was already talking about my bladder, so why not just like go there? So I've been doing these summit interviews for a guest that we're hopefully going to get on the show soon. And I do these interviews, and thank God I do them from home. But you know, guys, like, I'm not going to lie, I love cheese, and I feel like cheese makes me very constipated. So sometimes I have to take a stool softener. Let's just be real. And
yes, 31-year-olds do take stool softeners.
And sometimes the stool softener, even though I took it the night before, doesn't hit until you wake up the next morning. Mm-hmm. So I was getting ready for this interview. Again, I'm home, thank God. But we use Zoom, which is kind of like Skype. And I just had to go. And it was like, we were like 5 minutes to this interview. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die during this interview. I have to talk to this girl for 30 minutes. Can I clench my butt cheeks for 30 minutes? But guys, it was fine. I got it all out, and I was distracted enough that I didn't have to go during the interview. So I was a total boss.
Wow. No shit, huh? Oh my God.
You wise ass. You wise ass. I love it. Okay. So let's talk about how we plan to maintain motivation throughout the year.
Okay. So I'm not like a list person, especially this year. Just feel like if there's something I want to do, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I'm going to maintain motivation. I'm going to try to not think so hard and so much about things. It's definitely something that I've dealt with in the past that have sort of had, negative applications to my life, where I just overthink, overanalyze everything, and then it just doesn't happen because I'm always wondering, is it the right time? What if I fail? What if I love it? There's just so many variables for me. So I think now I'm sort of just taking the leap in more ways than one: career, personal, and just not being so afraid. So I think that's how I'm going to keep motivated, by just keeping going with these decisions that I'm making. And, whether it's good, whether it's bad, I'm going to roll with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great.
How about you?
For me, it's so exciting going into this year because I don't have a full-time job now, but I'm so busy. So I'm freelance, and I'm motivated because I feel like I have more room in my mind for creativity, which fuels me. That's my purpose in life. I need to be creating things and doing things. Now my only problem is I've filled my life so much with all these freelance opportunities, obviously to maintain financial reasons and just to expand myself and my experiences. But within that, I need to find room to be creative.
Sure.
And that will come. It's just the beginning of the year. So now that everything's happening and I'm organizing my life and every day is different, I'll figure it out. But that's what motivates me, every day being different. But I do need some structure. I think I need to start waking up at the same time and doing the same things in the morning, and not just...
I've been on such a regimented schedule for so many years that I can't even imagine. Like, even on the weekends, the latest I can sleep in is like 6.
Oh, girl.
People hate me. I'm like texting. My mom's always awake because it's 9 a.m. on the East Coast.
For me, well, I think I don't like sleeping in late either. I mean, I sleep later than you do, but I don't like sleeping past 10 at all. Like, that's like half the day. But
And also your cats will wake you up. So.
Well, that, but also, I don't even know if I told you this. I got a new mattress for Christmas.
I didn't know that.
I didn't realize that's how people were supposed to sleep.
Oh,
So I
it's
haven't
good.
been sleeping for the past 6 years.
Okay, great.
So
great.
I'm like, wake up every morning on a freaking cloud. And I'm like, wow, this is fantastic.
All right.
Yeah, no, it's been good. Yeah, Santa was good to me, and there was a good deal on Amazon, so I was very thrilled when that happened because I was like, oh my God, thank God. But it was so heavy, girl. It came to the door, and it was one of those that unfolds and it pops up. Well, when it popped up, it knocked Indy in the freaking face, and it was popped up upside down. So I had to flip it over. Oh my gosh, it was funny. I was sweating, but it was fine. It's so worth it. It was so worth it.
Oh my God. Well, I think we'll hopefully maintain our motivation. And obviously doing this podcast is a huge motivator.
Yes, it is. Because, we check in with each other, and obviously our guests are super motivational. And speaking of motivational guests, our guest coming on, Kylie Hodges, she does it all, but she's a professional wingwoman.
Yeah. And it might not be what you think. So tune in. We'll be right back with her. Hey bosses, welcome back. We are here with Kylie Hodges. Hey Kylie.
Hi.
So Kylie was born and raised in Madison, Wisconsin, and landed her first adult job after college as a spokesperson and driver of the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile, speaking on the brand's behalf on CNN, AOL, The Today Show, and even closing the New York Stock Exchange. 1 year after parking the Wienermobile for good, she moved to Los Angeles and established her producing career working on the HGTV show Flip or Flop, while simultaneously working as a freelance TV host on evenings, weekends, and sometimes during her very long lunch breaks, which, listen, can't knock a hustler. I love that. After a brief pivot, to digital content working for Cosmopolitan.com, she decided to pursue what brought her back to the community and joined the female-founded tech startup Kitchen Table app, leading the sales and marketing team. Inspired by the desire to connect to LA's entrepreneurial community, she started her own endeavor as a wingwoman for sales. She helps service-based entrepreneurs become the thriving CEOs of their dreams. Hey, girl.
Hi.
How you doing today?
Thank you so much. I'm great. I'm so happy to be here.
We'll eventually talk about the wingwoman thing, because I did pre-tease it. I feel like people don't exactly know what I mean when I say wingwoman.
Nobody does.
So we'll get to it. Let's take it back to the beginning. What did you do in college, and how did that translate to the Oscar Mayer gig?
Yeah, great question. So I studied radio, TV, film in college, and I also got a degree in Spanish. And none of that was related to driving the Wienermobile, but I grew up in the hometown of the headquarters of Oscar Mayer. And so, we were joking earlier about how we both auditioned for the same commercial when we were kids. The Wienermobile was a common sight in Madison. And so when I was little, I think I was about 5 or 6, I auditioned to be in a commercial to sing the Wiener jingle. Didn't get it.
Girl, I didn't either, so we can just...
Still salty about it.
Same, I feel you.
But my mom was speaking with the hot doggers at the time, and that's the name of your title when you drive the Wienermobile.
Oh, I love
and
it.
She was asking them what their job was, and they said, oh, we're Oscar Mayer hot doggers. This is a 1-year job. And so when I got older, when I was in high school, my mom was like, Kylie, this Wienermobile gig would be really good for you. So I used that as my story for where I see myself in 5 years when I was writing scholarship essays for getting into college. And then once college came and almost went, it came back into my mind, and I was like, I should look into this. And so I literally just applied online.
Wait,
got the interview.
Did you have to tell me all the things? Did you have to drive the mobile?
Not during the interview. No, the only people allowed in the driver's seat of the Wienermobile are current hot doggers and their boss, and that's it. So even now that I'm an alumni, I cannot sit in the driver's seat of the Wienermobile.
Whoa!
But the interview process was really intense. They have a phone interview with you, and then they bring in the top 90 candidates. They fly them into Madison, Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. They hire 12 a year, but they vet the first 90, and they break you up into 3 groups, and it's a 48-hour interview process where they fly everybody in. They have a welcome dinner, and they have these
hot
tables. Yeah. Yeah. And they have Wiener mobilia on the table with Wiener whistles and coupons, and they're watching you. They don't tell you this, but they're paying attention to how you react. And if you're super excited about a limited edition glow in the dark Wiener whistle on the table, they're going to be happy about that. If you're embarrassed by it, obviously maybe you shouldn't be a hot dogger.
Of course.
And then the next day you go through this pretty intense process of back-to-back interviews with the president of the brand manager, all the people involved in the process of Oscar Mayer hot dogs. And then, they hire 12, and then they split you up into 2 per vehicle. There's 6 vehicles, 2 drivers per vehicle, and they give you a region. And they gave us 2 weeks of really intense training, PR, brand messaging training, even drivers training. And then they sent us out, and they were like, bon voyage. Yeah. We had like a day learning puns too.
Okay, first of all, this is amazing. Second of all, I feel like even though I'm 31 years old, do they take 31-year-olds? Because I think I want to apply.
I don't want to say no, but most likely no. It's like they're looking for people who are like so green straight out of college.
I can be
like
green.
How they mold the perfect
Sometimes I feel
employee.
that way.
You know what? Still apply. You look 21. So.
Meghan was a spokesperson for Tidy Cats.
What?
It was a very similar situation. We traveled the country in this giant yellow dump truck, and I took the PU out of life.
Wait, what year was this?
Oh, God. I don't know.
So I did it 2011, 2012. And
No.
I would be on the road and meet other brand ambassadors.
I was in 2013 because I was graduating in 2011.
Dang,
yes,
missed connections.
Missed connection, but we were similar lifestyle.
I remember befriending like Verizon people and like Colgate people because we'd be at the same fairs. And we'd like swap wiener whistles for like toothpaste and stuff.
It's really fun.
It's kind of like the carny life.
I love it. It's great. Okay, so once you did that, what experience did you gain, and what made you want to move out to LA after that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I had my eyes set on LA since I went to college. I was like adamant that I was going to become this producer on like Conan O'Brien's late night talk show, and then Conan would just like give up his job to me. That was
The dream.
how I thought my
it,
career trajectory was going to go.
That's
That
fantastic.
makes a lot of sense, right? Conan would
does
just be
to
like,
me.
Kylie,
Yeah.
you can be the new Conan.
Wow, Kylie, you're tall and thin like me.
yeah.
Why don't you host the show?
Yeah, you have Irish roots. It seems like you have some
fine.
ginger hair. You
It's
could
fine.
fill in here. Clearly that didn't happen, but I was dead set on working in the TV industry, and I interned on the TV show Wipeout. I dated a guy on the show that overlapped into my hot dogging career, and so I was just like eyes on LA. I feel like that job gave me the tools. I mean, that job actually is what fuels the career I've created now. But at the time, I just saw it as like, I'm a person who likes to talk on camera, and the natural step beyond being a hot dogger is being a TV host.
Yes. No, honestly,
it
it makes sense.
Saying this out loud, I realized that these aren't like obvious connections, but when you're 21, it really made a lot of sense.
Of course.
For sure.
course.
I love that.
I love.
So in your bio, when I read it,
Yeah.
you know, I know you on a personal level because we met while working for this creative podcasting network called AfterBuzz. And I do know sort of your experience that you had working full-time while auditioning, doing these things on weekends, evenings, during your lunch break. At that time, how did you balance it all? And like, how did you make that work with your full-time job?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that this will probably ring true to you and your story from that time as well. But I was pretty lucky. I got an office PA job for this company called Pytown Productions, and they produce a lot of HGTV
Oh,
content.
they're just down the street, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
they're in the
NoHo.
valley. Mhm.
And so I have to say it was like probably one of the cushiest production jobs that you can find out here, because it's not like, there's never going to be any breaking news that you have to like film at 3 a.m. for a House Hunters episode. It's pretty structured,
Yeah.
pretty easy. So luckily I was able to make pretty good relationships with my bosses, that they were really supportive of having a career outside of your day job. A lot of people actually on that show also are like have passion projects. And so, I mean, the whole like sneaking off for like 3-hour lunch breaks to do a press junket in Santa Monica was not welcomed. I did get a few talkings too, that's for sure. But I mean, at the time I was like on this high of being green in LA, and I had like amazing metabolism and could like handle not getting a lot of sleep, which now I'm just like, I need 9 hours or I'm grumpy.
Same.
But I think it was just like I did burn myself out. Don't get me wrong. I crashed and burned really hard. But I think I was just like pushing through thinking that I was going to get this like instant gratification of like, oh, E-News is just going to call me soon. That's not how it works.
I think we all learned the hard way like that. It's yeah.
And this sort of led to this, like, this is going to sound like a big bummer, but it's not. It was sort of this like mental implosion for me after like 2 or 3 years into it. I was like, what am I doing? I hate that I'm working for free. Nothing feels like it's falling in line. And I started to get really salty about social media and social media influencers, which now that I've like worked on my mindset about it, social media is an incredible tool, but also it's just social media. Mm-hmm. But at the time, I was just seeing like people who had bigger numbers than me getting success in the hosting world. And I was thinking they were not as great of a host as I was. And so I was starting to get really angry and really frustrated with it and realizing that if I was getting this angry about something so small, then maybe what I was doing wasn't right. Mm. And so that caused a lot of introspection, and I took a step back and started saying no to everything for a while. And then that's around the time when my job at Pytown ended, and I took a year of like trying to figure out what I was doing, and it was like the worst year ever, but very necessary.
Can I ask you how long ago was this? Because I feel like we're sharing a brain right now. Yeah. And I'm like, how far in this journey is she? And I'm trying to compare it to where I'm at.
Okay, so I moved to LA in 2012. I got my job at Pytown within a week of moving here, and I feel really grateful for that. And I actually had it really good. I took it for granted. I had bennies. I had paid time off. Life was good.
Bennies. And then I was like, I'm going to start calling them bennies now. I had
a 401k with
what? You're so adult.
I know. So adult. I would call my dad and be like, yo, I got a 401k. Are you proud of me yet? And he's like, well, maybe don't make trash reality TV and I'll be proud of you. But what happened was I was doing this for about 3 years. And then in 2016, I left Pytown, and my goal was to just go freelance. Like, everyone was just going to want to hire me, right? And, like, that's not the case. And also I found myself, like, literally having panic attacks when a press release would show up in my inbox. I think that's a solid sign that maybe you're not supposed to be doing what you're doing. And I was doing it because when I moved to LA, I befriended, Jason Eichler. He was also a PA with me at this company, and Tiana Hobson. The three of us are like the three musketeers at this company. And they were really into entertainment news and entertainment journalism. And so I get easily excited by other people. And so I was like, oh, yeah, hosting. This is great. And it just wasn't the right fit for me. And I was trying to force a square peg in a circular hole. And when I realized that I was on my own and had to really hustle, and the hustle was like what I dreaded, it was around 2017 was like this year of Kylie figuring it out. And that means like getting weird jobs, like copywriting for a shoe company that I hated doing, and just whatever I had to do to pay the bills, but also like afford myself the freedom to like go home for 2 weeks and cry to my mom.
Yes. Wait, we're the same.
A lot of crying in 2017.
I'm so thankful that you're being so real and honest and raw, because I think a lot of people that are listening can relate to your journey in some aspect. But I want to talk about Kitchen Table. What is that? Yeah. How did you get into it? Because this is kind of the next part of the journey, correct?
Yeah. So while I was a host, I thought, oh, I don't actually care about entertainment, but I like to cook. So then I was like, I should just be a food blogger. But again, it was like coming from this place of I was like shoulding myself. Like, I should do this because it seems like people like it. It wasn't very authentically me. Yeah, I like to cook, but I really don't want to blog about cooking. But I was doing it, and I was contacted by this tech startup called Kitchen Table App, who it's a community building platform. It's a free app that you open it, and you'll see a bunch of hosts holding gatherings in their homes over a shared meal, and they're usually experts in, like, maybe they're podcasters or career coaches, and this is a way to complement their business but also make new friends and build community and share something share a conversation that they feel really passionately about. So Kitchen Table was just launching, and they were doing more or less an influencer type launch. And I mean, it's amazing that they found me on social, because I am not an influencer if you look at my numbers, but it happened, and they were like, hey, we know you have a podcast. I had a food podcast with my fiance, and they were like, do you want to come and be a special guest for our dinner party launch? And I said, absolutely. And I went to this event, and it was in this, do you guys know the Daily Dose Cafe in downtown LA in the Arts District? It renamed. It's called Cafe Societe.
Ooh.
But at the time, it was a cafe in between these brick buildings in an alleyway of the Arts District, and it was covered in vines and twinkle lights and really beautiful. And what Kitchen Table did was they were trying to show the community that you can have a really special moment around the table, and it doesn't have to be this fancy dinner, but you can create really intimate relationships and have amazing conversation in that moment. And so they had 6 tables set up, like 6 separate dinner parties, and each influencer was the host of that table. And it ended up being the day before my birthday, and so a lot of my friends came, and it was just this really special moment, and I loved it so much that I emailed the founder a week later, and I was like, are you hiring? I know this is weird because I'm supposed to look like I have it all together, but are you hiring?
Yeah.
And like right before I had emailed her, do you know Christina Zias?
Yes.
She is amazing. Everybody should follow her on Instagram. She's at Ms. Zias, and she's just like this amazing curve model and so inspirational and like super smart.
She's
and
great style.
amazing style. I mean, sometimes she gives me her stuff she doesn't want anymore, and I'm like, yes, thank you so much. But
Sounds
it was,
like you.
Yeah.
I went to
me.
New York for her wedding. I stayed with our friend Jason, who's killing it at Cosmo.com. And I don't know what it was about that trip, but that trip made me realize it's okay to let go of all expectations I had put on myself for my career. And I came back from that trip, and I was telling Omar, my fiance, about it, and like sobbing a lot. And it occurred to me, I don't have to do anything that I thought was the right thing to do. I don't have to become a producer on Conan to be successful, but I like was so adamant that that was the way I had to be. And so in that moment, I can be a little dramatic with life changes. I like took a video recording myself, telling myself that I give myself permission to not identify as a producer, as a host, and to just do whatever I want with my career. And then the next day I emailed Kitchen Table, and she was like, oh, I'm actually hiring in the sales and marketing team. Do you want to join the app? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And it ended up being the most amazing thing that I ever could have done for myself. And now I'm like the lead on the sales team for Kitchen Table. And it's like
I'm
very
so
special.
inspired by you.
I
You're
mean-
my new best friends.
Thank you. I think that like this is a classic coming into my own skin. I think our 20s are like this very bizarre time that nobody warns you about.
Wait, you're still in your 20s?
Yeah, I'm 29. I'll be 30 in August.
Okay, so I'm feeling what she's feeling, but I'm 31. That's
That's okay. Like it all, our brains are like feeling shit out. And like, I just started therapy this year, and I think that has helped me like
The three of us.
explore.
Yes.
We all
It's
have.
all this year?
Yes.
All this
Wow.
year.
Well,
Like at the
2018.
end of last
Okay,
year.
yeah, I think somebody was talking. Was it you? You were like around Thanksgiving. You were like, I'm really grateful that I started therapy.
Yeah.
Somebody on the episode
Yeah.
said that. Same. I mean, I've exploded as a human in the last 6 months since doing it, and I've learned so much about myself. And it's like expediting the growing up process and the like being okay with the world not being laid out on a silver platter for me, and understanding that I'm human and everybody else is human, and we all grow at different times.
Here's a follow-up to that, because it's something that I deal with even now after my therapy journey has started. Did your parents stigmatize mental health when you were younger? Because that really held me back from doing it. My parents' mindset on all of it was, you're fine. You'll be fine. Work it out.
Yeah. I don't know if they stigmatized it as much as like nobody ever mentioned it.
Right.
Never.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't an option.
Yeah. I remember once I got in a really big fight with my mom when I was 17. I had a pretty like classic teenage time of my life. And I remember one time my dad being like, I don't know, do you want me to like call a therapist or something? And I'm like, an angry 17-year-old, I'm not going to say yes to that. That sounded like my personal hell, you know? So That was the only time I ever remember hearing anything about it. Mental illness is common on both sides of my family, though, and it was never identified that way to me. I just thought I had like really horrible aunts and uncles I just thought it was like,
Like, oh my God.
There's a lot of like wackiness in my family, and this could be like 8 other podcast episodes about that, but I just saw it as like Wisconsin rednecks and like people who didn't like, just like a messed up family. I never thought as like, oh, this is mental illness and like could be addressed. So I suppose the long answer to that is yes.
Okay.
In a different way.
So staying on the therapy theme, you've been pretty open on social media about your experience with sort of a career coach, life coach.
Oh my God,
So I want you to talk a little bit about her and sort of how that has guided you in the past couple of months or
years. So in 2017, when I was going through that year-long implosion of what the hell am I doing with my life, I posted a slightly emo Instagram post about it, and my very old friend who I hadn't spoken to in 10 years DM'd me after my post and was like, I don't know if this is for you, but I used to work with someone on Invisible Children, do you remember that? The Coney 2012 campaign?
Yes.
So they both worked on that, and she was like, her name's Laura Weldy, and now she's a life coach based in Nashville. It seems like you're going through a tough time right now, so if you're interested, you should DM her. And I did, and I decided to work with her, and best choice I could have ever made.
Wow.
In addition to getting therapy. But with Laura, I actually worked with her twice. The first time around was her helping me I started working with her because I thought I needed structure. I thought I just needed someone to help me be more productive, to get more YouTube content out, to make more podcasts, and then I'll be the successful host, right? By the end of working with her for the first time was when I came to that realization that I didn't actually want to do these things. And so I'm sure it was doing some like voodoo tricks on like getting my brain to come to that space, but I thought it was all me, right? And so then the second time I started working with her last spring was I had been working for Kitchen Table for a couple months, and I love Kitchen Table, and it's pivoted so much now that I'm still with Kitchen Table, by the way. I don't know if that was clear, but I want to see it grow so much. But at the time I was like, I want to have my own thing. So I contacted her to be like, can you help me again? And she was like, absolutely. And so I just wrapped up working with her again, and it was a really special time because I love learning and I like being a student, and she helped me tap into listening to my intuition and gave me tools to take a step back and figure out how I'm feeling about something and if it feels in alignment with where I want to be. And I know that might sound like a bunch of like woo-woo mumbo jumbo, so you should just like DM her on Instagram if you have questions. But honestly, like now I'm an avid journaler, and now I am able to take a step back and ask myself, like, does this feel right? Am I just shoulding myself again, or is this something I really want?
I love that.
She's amazing. And because of that, she helped me create this job as a wing woman. She helped me come to that idea and coached me through having the confidence to be like, oh, I can start a business. I can be a creative person who doesn't like sitting down at cubicles for 8 hours and still start a business and take myself seriously and make money and deserve all of those things.
I'm glad you just brought that up because I want to talk about what it is. You just mentioned kind of how it started to develop, but to start from the beginning with Wingwoman.
Yeah. Well, I was starting to feel restless because Kitchen Table is a 9-to-5 job, and I just like was getting squeamish and
preach.
I always have wanted to like create some sort of a platform. I really love speaking, and I've done it before, and I want to get back on that. And I knew that it has to start from like creating something of my own before I can just be like, you should hire me to give speeches.
I know things.
Like, so yeah. I've read a couple books. I like to journal. You should hire me. And so I had this idea. I've had this idea for a couple years mulling around in my head about the idea of like being a matchmaker, but it never quite felt right. And then one day, last spring, my very close friend Maya, she owns a nonprofit. She's the founder of a nonprofit called Zip Zap Zop Enrichment, and they help take improv games and tools to schools and therapists to help bridge the divide between kids with and without autism. It's a way to encourage communication and creativity in a non-conventional way so that no matter what your abilities are, you're on the same playing field. And I just really believe in that organization and nonprofit, and I think Maya is doing wonderful things in this world. And so I found myself naturally just trying to find people to help her. I've funneled so many like volunteers and teachers her way, and great collaborations and connections. And she, I have to say, is like my number one fan, who for about 2 years would be like, Kylie, you need to start a business. And I'd be like, whatever, Maya. Okay, that's nice. I'll just be your volunteer. Calm down. And then finally she got into my head and she was like, Kylie, you have brought so many powerful, helpful, useful people to me. This could be your business. And it just hit me up when she said it. It hit me over the head. And I was like, I am your wing woman. She's like, yes. And I was like, that is my job. Yes.
I love it. That's
and
amazing.
I like hit the ground running with it, and Laura helped me flesh it out, and then I started working with I have a business coach now, and her name is Jess Joswick. Her company is called Backbone Creative, and like once I started working with Jess, it's like I started getting clients, I started making money, and like things started to happen because she was really putting the pressure on me to think bigger and get really uncomfortable. So I hope that answered your question.
That did. It did. That's amazing.
I was talking a lot.
No.
Yeah. So just to like flush it out a teeny bit more.
Yeah.
So you're providing a Wingwoman service for every type of business owner, or like what's your sort of niche?
Right now I'm focusing on service-based entrepreneurs. So right now my clients are Zip Zap Zop, a brand strategy agency, and a money mindfulness coach.
Cool.
She's amazing. I would like to bring on a few more clients who are a little bit more in the wellness space, because that's where I really identify, like life coaches, breath work teachers. If you haven't done a breath work class, you should. Whoa. I'm unpacking a lot of that still in therapy. Like it brings stuff up.
What is breath work?
You go into like, so like the den, the meditation studio, a teacher will come in and you do this like crazy breathing where you're like for like an hour straight, and they'll like blast the soundtrack from what's that musical that just came out that everyone loves? And it's The Greatest
Showman.
They like blast that inspirational soundtrack, and then they're like, everybody scream, and you're like, ah! And then at the end of it, I was like, oh my God, I have mommy and daddy and brother and sister and personal issues. Like I don't know what it does, but it gets into the psyche. I journaled hard after that breathwork class.
I love it.
But regardless, clearly, like I've talked so much about Laura in like this breathwork class, I'm really finding myself deep into the woo. And I think it's because this stuff is really important for just being a person, and it's stuff that hasn't been given credibility and talked about enough yet. And so long story short, I'm trying to find more clients in the wellness space because I clearly am passionate about it.
I always tell people that feeling that you're talking about, I call it wholeness, not happiness. Because you're really like figuring out who you are as a whole. It's not about like how happy you can be.
Yeah.
That goes up and down. It's
Yeah.
like, am I the like most complete person that I can be as far as working on myself?
That's a great question. Or statement.
That
That wasn't a question.
Well,
That's a great thought.
Thank you, Kylie. I appreciate it. You're also pretty open on your socials about goal setting and not being intimidated by it. So can you talk to us a little about what soft goals are, and if you've set any for yourself this year?
Yeah, I'm actually hosting a brunch on Kitchen Table tomorrow morning about this. It's a conversation about gentle goal setting. And my friend Ashley, who runs Run the World Los Angeles, she's teaming up with me on this because we both don't like the aggressive language with goals, especially in the new year. It's like, crush your goals, get those goals. It's like, I don't like working out at a gym and lifting weights, just like I don't like crushing my goals either, you know? And so also that language puts a lot of pressure on you mentally, and it's almost setting yourself up too high of expectations, and then eventually you're just gonna, and by you I mean me, get really hard on yourself when you don't follow through with those unrealistic expectations. So I set aside a day in our calendar, my fiance and I, at the end of December, and we had a goal setting day. We did not have any obligations. We sat down, and the first half of the day we reflected on 2018 and our accomplishments, and then we talked about where we had room for improvement, and then we laid out the year ahead, and we identified our top 3 overarching goals. I created a theme for the year. My theme is play. And then we tried to break it down into monthly challenges. I only scheduled those out for the first quarter of the year because I know that I'll like probably change my mind in the second and third quarter about where I want to be moving. But I have to say my challenge for January, I have not been completing. And so I stopped it, and I'm going to reassess it tomorrow at this brunch. And I'm going to do a new challenge starting in February, because my whole thing is soft goals should be super attainable, fail-proof, and can lead to a tiny step closer to where you want to be. And my goal was cold calling 5 new clients a day, because I had done that in December and it felt easy. Mm-hmm. But when I say do that every single day, it's like very overwhelming. I do a lot of things. Like cold calling sounds easy, but 5 a day, come on, Kylie. I should have known better. So I'm taking a step back, and I'm going to reassess, and I'm going to set up a smaller, more achievable goal that will also help me get to where I want to go. So I think like the main takeaway is not being hard on yourself, and understanding that your productivity does not equate to your worth as a person. And then identifying whatever it is that you realistically would like to see in a year from now, and like what is the most baby minuscule step that you could do every single day for 30 days to get you there. It might create a habit, or it might just make like chisel out a little more progress for you. But I do see the power in like doing something every day for 30 days and then switching it up.
I love that. I love that so much.
Thanks.
And on top of all that, you're planning a wedding.
Yeah, dude. I don't All right. I'm going to be really honest with you guys.
Please do.
I have 4 jobs right now. It's really hard. I mostly work for Kitchen Table on the sales team, and Kitchen Table's pivoted a lot, and I'm working with the founder, and we're like doing a lot of really exciting things. But so because of that, I'm not full time. I have this business as a Wingwoman, and I have 3 clients, and I'm so proud of that. That happened within 3 months. I got 3 clients in 3 months.
Amazing.
Of just like creating a business that nobody's ever heard of, and still don't really get what I do. And then I still, to pay the bills and save for this wedding, I'm a copywriter for a shoe company that I like cannot wait to pass that job off to somebody else. And then I'm helping a friend who I believe in has a startup called Bite Toothpaste Bits. Wow. Bite Toothpaste Bits. And I'm the customer service. And it's digital. So it's like I'm doing 8 million things at once. And the concept of planning a wedding is like the most insane, time-consuming, money-grubbing thing ever. And so we're trying to plan a destination wedding, and that gives me stress. So I'm trying to be as hands-off as possible. All I want with this wedding is to be like a time where our families can meet and have a really wonderful experience together. And I hope by just making it a destination where there's minimal planning will be nice. But if I were to tell you that my mental health is on par right now, I would be lying. Like I'm happy. I'm the happiest I have ever been. And I'm also the most up and down I've ever been. And I don't think I've met another entrepreneur who said anything other than that. So I feel okay with that. I think that this is part of the growing pains of being an early stage business owner. And I know I'm going to get through this like weirdness, but it's really weird right now. But I'm happy. So it's not a bad thing.
And you can tell that you walked in here and you have a great energy, and I'm just so impressed by how you carry yourself and how well you know yourself. And I just admire that so much.
Thank you. Therapy.
No, but it's and also though you
self-awareness is a practice.
Yes, and you can see that you've put in the work for that practice.
Thanks. And I think it'll never end. I don't know about you guys, but I have aha moments in the weirdest times, and meditation helps with that, and getting older helps with that, and getting Sleep helps with that.
Do you meditate
and
every day?
Journaling.
I just started meditating.
I try.
Yeah.
I use Headspace where it'll tell you like
Yes.
if you've hit a streak, and I try to look away before it shows me the streak because I'm very hard on myself, and I skipped today, and now the streak is going to start over, and part of me is like, oh, I could have had a 7-day streak.
I hear you. Are you a Scorpio?
I'm a Leo.
Okay. Similar.
Does that explain
We're
it?
similar. I'm a Scorpio too, so I was like, yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about zodiacs, but I recently got my human design chart. Have you guys heard of the human design?
Yeah.
Is it like where the stars were aligned when you were born and like your astronomical?
That is your I forgot the
Or
name
your
of that,
numerology?
with your moon rising.
Oh,
So
yes,
that's
okay.
different. Your human design, it does ask like when you were born and the time and stuff, but it shows you a chart of the human body and all these crazy symbols and stuff. And there are people whose job is to literally read your chart and break it down for you, and it explains a lot of who you are as a person, similar to like zodiac stuff, but in a very intense
Detailed way.
Yeah. So I'm looking for someone to read my human design because I did it and I got the results and I was like, oh, is this even in English? What is this? It's crazy.
I love it.
So if anybody listening
I need to do it.
knows a human design analyst, hook up this Wingwoman, please.
Well, I keep going back to this quote, and I feel like it's sort of a theme of the year, which is, the longest relationship that you do have is with yourself, so it better be a good one.
Yeah.
And like that has really stuck with me. I was like on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and like I told like the girl that was interviewing me the quote, and she was like, it was like, oh my God, you're right. Like, what am I
So true.
searching for? And it's like, it's important that, among everything that you're doing, self-care takes priority in some sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you're feeling that right now because you're so overwhelmed, but maybe if we talk through it, like what do you enjoy for self-care and how do you think you can sort of implement it more in your life to help you chill out a little bit in this like really crazy time?
Yeah, that is a great question. Journaling is always my number one. I have always really enjoyed it, and I use it as a way to ask myself the questions that like Laura, my life coach, or my therapist have asked me, which is how am I getting in the way? Or is this thought a fact? How does this thought make me feel? There's some more prompts. There's a book by Byron Katie all about that. But it's just a way for me to, I don't know, it helps me get all the thoughts out. The other one, which I really struggle with because of our society puts so much pressure on women and exercising and their body sizes. But when I do exercise, I feel good. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of feelings tied in exercise, and so it's hard for me to get started. But yoga is the one that I will most likely do most often. And honestly, the best self-care I can have for myself as an extreme extrovert is to get out of the house, see a friend, and laugh a lot. Because that just, it distracts your brain. It helps you reset. And it's like a new experience that helps your brain just sort of take a break. Mm-hmm. And sleep, forever sleep,
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate of get all the sleep you can.
Well, I mean, I'm very inspired. I'm sure our listeners are too. Thank you so much for sharing your life with us, being so open and raw. And you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait to hear all the things that are going to come. And I can't wait to hire you one day as my wingwoman.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Once I do my own thing, but who
woman.
knows?
Thank you so much. I loved chatting with you both.
Well, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at BossPleasePod. And don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe on iTunes. Navigate the path to your best self with us because bossing together is always better.